Thank you for tuning. All right, we're gonna get to it because it's been less than a week. It's been about 4 days since I released the first white paper, and it's really pretty interesting. The feedback and the people who are and agencies that are taking genuine interest, as well as the people who aren't. I think it's quite exciting to look at the data. So let's get into this, right? Because we're crossing into a line. We're crossing a line where you're going to begin to see separation for those who haven't experienced anything like this before. I appreciate you walking with me on this journey. And for the many of you who have this is one more shot to do it again. So what we're looking at here is let me get the actual paper up here. In a second. Okay, so here we have the paper on page 13. And by all means, a lot of people have watched this, been able to take and look through it manually on LinkedIn, on my LinkedIn, Pasha Paro. If not, if you want to email me, feel free. I can send you a copy and we can go from there. So it's pashaparo@gmail.com. Table of contents is here, much more included, but let's get on with it. Page 13. So one interesting part was right here. So the Washington Post analysis of the, let me make sure I'm showing you on the screen. Okay, gotcha. So the Washington Post analysis of the group's data found that an estimated 16% of the country's population today lives in hazardous areas, right? Over the next 30 years, that share will increase to 21%. Nearly half of all Americans who live in areas vulnerable to fire will reside in the South, and minorities face a disproportionate risk. And then page 19, I thought was interesting too, because it showed, was it 19? What about Canada? Hold on. No, 17. So according to the study of wildfire risk assessment in Canada, right, approximately that many number of people reside in areas at high fire risk, while 30,500 live in areas classified as very high fire risk. And they said it is worth noting that Indigenous on-reserve communities are particularly vulnerable to wildfire impact, with an estimated 18.9% of people living in Indigenous reserves residing in areas at high risk of fire. So of the lands given as reservations in Canada, almost 19% of their entire population resides in areas at higher risk of fire compared to only 2.4% of non-reserved populations. And when we go back to 13 and say, hey, nearly half of all Americans who live in areas vulnerable to fire will reside in the South, and minorities face a disproportionate risk. You gotta support FireFort Eco for what we bringing to the table for y'all. It's really that simple. Like I said, I know we're going to be dealing with a lot of scared people. A lot of people are afraid. A lot of people that used to be on it's funny because a lot of people are scared of government, what they call the government, because they don't know what it is. They do a lot of talking, they do a lot of boisterous stuff in person and on the internet, but then when it comes time to do something real, they disappear. And I've won 3 out of 4 of my own court cases myself, and well, I guess you could say 3 out of 5 if you count the one that I didn't get to actually go to. Well, I guess you could say you can't count that one. I didn't go to court for it. We didn't make it to court. So 3 out of 4, 75%. It's not bad, right? That's pretty good. A lot of your sport teams that you buy jerseys for, buy merch from, spend $500 on tickets and $60 hot dogs to put in your mouth, don't have a 75% win record. So what I want to do is, feel free to help Pasha continue to add value to the community. And we're going to go into some really interesting detail here that I feel like you might just want to support. All right. So that's the Cash App. Hit me up. Now, what we're going to be looking at, like I said, is a lot of people are fearful. They don't know what the government is. And so they're afraid. They do a lot of talking online and behind the scenes. And then when you give them an opportunity, I don't know where they go. Right. So one thing I will say is I have to applaud them in this case. Show you what I'm talking about here. So, I published a white paper. Well, I put it out, and I applaud the people who show an interest. For good or bad reasons, right? I know a lot of this is for the right reason because I'm speaking to some people, and we'll leave it like that. And I want to speak to more people. I want to talk to more people. Obviously I'm connecting with many people, and I want to connect and speak with more people like you, because the community needs this, the nation needs this, and we're going to go over why it's so important, so much more important than, I don't apologize for being ahead of the curve. Okay. Let me finish this thought. So the U.S. Department of State, I gotta appreciate that. The World Resource Institute, gotta appreciate them. The Market at 7th, I know what we'll talk. I appreciate you as well. The California Wellness Foundation, I didn't even know who they were. I appreciate y'all. And Quantum Renewable Energy Inc., I appreciate you guys as well. And then of all DC, Baltimore area, All right, let's talk nonprofits. And again, the World Resource Institute. I appreciate y'all for your interest in my little scribe. So, it's kind of interesting though. How often in life do you do something for people, and the people you did it for sometimes are the ones who appreciate it the least. Now, it's not saying that in this case, like I said, it's only been 4 days. The people who are first to respond to things are normally a certain breed of people, right? They're a certain breed of people, and they're gonna be the ones who are okay with risk, right? They're gonna be the ones who are okay with the risk because there's a risk tolerance. And I'm gonna get into this because what we're gonna talk about today is we're gonna talk about the number of minorities living in areas with the least fire coverage in U.S. cities. See? Because everybody, I think there's some distractions. They see me, they see a beard, they see billions of dollars, and they start to talk about everything but how it values you individually watching this the most. And that could be dangerous for you because you could be on the wrong side. So the risk tolerance, right? Is going to be the ones that are that are in place, because they are willing to take the risk on new ideas or products, and or understanding that there may be kinks to work out, right? Those who have influence. See, if you don't really have no influence, you're gonna wait till it becomes popular so you can jump onto it. If you have influence, you're going to see it, like it, and then use your influence to make it so. So you can tell the difference between those who have influence will do something with this now. Those who don't have influence will wait until it becomes popular and trendy. And that's why, I'm not talking about some of the things that y'all are talking about right now, because I was speaking about those things 10 to 15 years ago. 10, 20, 15 years ago, I was getting, put into the 20 years ago, I was getting put into the mental hospital for talking about what y'all are able to speak so freely about now. You don't, when y'all think about sports and stuff, y'all can say, oh yeah, the ones that came before and paved the way for us to be able to play the game that we play today and work in the places that we work today. But often people like me are overlooked. The ones that like I said, we're called crazy 20 years ago, suffered, went through the passion of it 20 years ago, so that you could speak freely about it today. You know what I mean? I am your Harriet Tubman. I am your Martin Luther King. I am your Malcolm X. I've always been. So you got to ask who you are if you don't like me, or what we doing for the community, or the way we doing it. I don't have to pretend, my actions speak. But that's why they don't speak about my actions. They speak about everything but certain people. So what happens is those people are being replaced with the ones who are willing to take risk. those people are being replaced with influential people. Not that I'm doing it, they're doing it themselves, and they're going to do it in your life too, because you they can't go with you but so far. So if they don't have the vision, right? You're gonna find that those with the vision are gonna be the ones who come and can handle being and remaining in your presence, because they'll be able to see the potential in a product or an idea before it's fully realized, before it's popular and trendy. They'll stand with you in the mental hospital days before it become Facebook friendly. You know what I'm saying? Before it gets put on a t-shirt, right? So you're going to find yourself being left with just the informative, socially influenced group, the informed decision makers. Okay? And they often have high degree of knowledge about a product area or a certain idea or mindset, or basically they're subject matter experts. They're SMEs, what we call them, allowing them to make informed decisions about potentials. And then lastly, we're going to be more and more exposed to those with the financial resources. They often have the ability to invest in the new products and ideas, even if the investment isn't, return isn't immediate. But in this case, for those who may be considering this as an investment, I'm not going to say it pans out overnight, but there's not too much that you're going to be able to see that's more desired and needed in the community than this. So I don't think investment return is going to be an issue, the speed of which. So we're gonna cover some things today. Let's see, we're about 17 minutes in. All right. So as you can see the numbers down below, a model was built. Let me get you the right photo here. Let's use this one. So a model was built by the nonprofit First Street Foundation. Estimates that nearly 16% of the U.S. population currently lives in hazardous areas, and this share is expected to increase to 21% over the next 30 years. By 2052, about 44% of all Native Americans and nearly one in every four Hispanic people will live in areas with a significant probability of wildfire. So in less than 30 years, it's expected that 44% of all Native Americans and nearly 25% of all Hispanic people in the U.S. will live in areas with a significant probability of wildfire. Racial and ethnic minorities, particularly Native Americans, are 6 times more likely than other groups to live in areas most prone to wildfires. Communities that are mostly Black, Hispanic, or Native American experience 50% greater vulnerability to wildfires compared to other communities. See, this is what Pasha brings to you. This is why people are concerned with me. They feel like I'm putting myself at risk. So I understand why those who go and hide go and hide, go missing from your pages, don't comment on certain stuff, don't want to be seen. But I applaud the ones who do. Because let's recap what we standing for when we talk about this. Because see, people don't understand the different styles, actually, or not having a style when it comes to your activism. They don't understand the music is new age. They don't understand the language is truth. They don't understand this is activism. Let's go back over this again. 16% of the U.S. population currently lives in hazardous areas. And that alone is expected to increase to 21% total over the next 30 years. So now what that means is that there's going to be they're expecting a 5% increase total. So 5%. Now of that 5%, what they're expecting to fill it with, that's going to be the wrong statement. Let's say of that 21% total, what it'll be comprised of is by 2052, about 44% of all Native Americans and nearly 1 in every 4 Hispanic people will be part of that 21%. Let's word it a different way. Racial and ethnic minorities, particularly Native Americans, are 6 times more likely than other groups to be part of that 21%. Communities that are mostly Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans experience a 50% greater chance of being part of that 21%. If you ask me why I do this, it's not because of the numbers you saw on the screen. It's because Pasha Paro wants to build critical solutions that create sustainable communities. And this is why these type of conversations I take on myself, separate and promoting for and advocating for the rise of FireFort Eco. Because I have the vision, I see the value for the nation and for the world. As sirens blare. So it's important to note from my notes here that the socioeconomic factors such as housing costs and economic levels can influence why people choose to live in fire-prone areas. Oh, so it's economics. So that means we would have to address capitalism, or it's probably a lot cheaper to invest in FireFort Eco and make sure that everybody got some. Additionally, the presence of humans in wildland urban interface areas contributes to the risk of wildfires. So Headed for Self-Destruction got a remix. Excuse me. All right. The overall research suggests that minority communities in the United States are more vulnerable to the impacts of wildfire. This highlights the need for targeted efforts like the investment in FireFort Eco to address the specific challenges faced by these communities in fire-prone areas. See, but y'all didn't know why the Department of State is interested. You don't understand why I want to talk to the Advancement Project. Somebody get me some people in the Advancement Project on the line, on the phone, in the email. Because the Advancement Project is a civil rights organization that aims to fulfill America's promise of caring, inclusive, and what they call just democracy. Or how about the Office of Minority Health, the OMH, dedicated to advancing equity for African Americans, as they call it, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islander communities in certain response efforts. Or the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Let's talk to the CDC about this, right? Y'all still talking about the old shit. Let's talk about the new shit. CDC, you collaborate with partners to improve mental health among racial and ethnic minority groups. I got some topics with you. Pasha Paro. You can Google me. Everything come right up. You can pick if you want to meet on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. It all comes up when you put it in Google. Because I'm the one and only. See, it's not me thing. It's a we the people thing. I saw a cute meme the other day. They said there's no I in team. It said there's no I in team. But they say the ones that be talking about I, the I is found right in the A hole when you have a team spelled out all capitals. It's kind of cool. Check it out. Right? Shout out to DDN TV broadcast. I know, right? So how did it get like this? Let's talk about that real quick. So the number of minorities living in areas with the least fire coverage in the U.S. cities. Now, we talked about how, according to the Washington Post analysis, we did that. That's in the white paper. If you haven't read it, I know it's 41 pages, but go read it because you scrolled through more than 41 pages of Facebook yesterday. So give me 41 pages. I don't care if it takes you a week. Do 7 pages a day. Get to know it. Talk to your neighbors about it because I need you to know that it's valuable for you because I'm going to the government with it. I'm already talking to the Department of State. My life is on the line already for you. So I need you at least to know so that you can ask for it by name. FireFort Eco. So we know the minorities in the United States face disproportionate risk when it comes to living in areas vulnerable to fire. The analysis found that we went over that nearly half of all Americans who live in areas vulnerable to fire reside in the South, and community minorities are particularly at risk. Previous research has shown that minority groups are especially vulnerable to damage from wildfires due to factors such as language barriers, limited car ownership, job insecurity, and lack of insurance. Language barriers, limited car ownership, job insecurity, and lack of insurance is the culprits. So the vulnerability of why is that in that case? Because studies found that the language barriers, the limited car ownership, lack car can make it difficult for them to flee fast moving blazes, and the job situations and the lack of insurance makes it difficult for them to recover if they were able to get out. Right? So Native Americans living on federal reservations, they're 6 times more likely to live in both the most vulnerable and the most fire prone areas. Now, how did you accidentally wind up there? How did you accidentally wind up on a patch of ground that's not only the most vulnerable, but the most fire prone at the same time? Historical forced relocation onto reservations, which are mostly rural and remote areas prone to wildfires, combined with the socioeconomics barrier, make it especially hard for these communities to recover after a large wildfire. I'm just bringing y'all truth for your entertainment. You know, you look, a lot of people get excited when they move into areas like this, all these little triangles all sitting next to each other. You look out your window, you staring at the wall of the neighbor's house or into their kitchen, and you feel like you've done something with your life. You cut your little 2 feet of grass in between your house, right? Not realizing that you're like a box of matches. And African Americans and Hispanics, per their definition, communities that are predominantly, as they call it, Black, Hispanic, or Native American, experience 50% greater vulnerability to wildfires compared to other communities because the historical forced relocation onto reservations and the combination of the socioeconomical barriers, like the Native Americans, also helped them fall into these areas. The economic inequality, job security, and lack of insurance plays a part because certain areas require you to have certain level of job security, certain quality of insurance, certain economic position, certain amount of resources. But because we don't have those, generally speaking, it makes it, again, more complicated to recover after a fire. So climate change, which, you know, they're saying everything stems from, the record-breaking heat we can get with, right? The drought we can get with, and the increasing greenhouse gas emissions, you choose. But they're saying they're drying out grassland and forests, contributing to the increased risk of fires. Now, whether you think it's a human cause or natural earth cycles, you decide. But we know things are changing. Okay? That we do know. Right? Now, why is it the number of minorities in areas with the least fire coverage outside the fire zones in the US, there's not really a lot of information on, at least that I could get my hands on in a day's time to do the video, right? So wonder why that is, but you decide how you feel about it. The research does show that the vulnerability is influenced by a combination of environmental, social, political, and economic factors. Okay? And that's really what we got to think about here. How did we wind up here, where we're at? Yo, DD Network, let's I mean, shoot me your math, and by all means we can team up on this topic and continue. I appreciate your support. So, getting back to it now, I want to go into some stuff here for you, right? Let's get into some stuff here for you. This is where it gets interesting. Let me see here. So, I want to start with what I want to start with. Let's start with this one first. Because this is interesting, right? Because a lot of us don't realize the danger, that's living, so to speak, right? All right. So if you can see this, this was like this is the fort like a weather map for fires. You know what I mean? I'm the type of person that likes to know what I'm talking about. So as I'm growing in this arena of conversation, I definitely need to become more knowledgeable about not only the product I have for you guys with FireFort Eco, but the solutions that it provides to the people in the community, to the world, and to the economy. Like we discovered in the white paper, we're looking at least a $657 billion a year entitlement with this. So let's look at what we're talking about. So here's the fire map. You can see here the colors. No data, little or no risk. Is green, yellow is low risk, moderate risk, right? And then you got your high risk triggers in the various shades of orange and red. So this was Friday. We're technically on the East Coast, Eastern time, so it's Sunday now. We're not on the coast, but it's technically what they call Sunday. But let's look at Saturday. So here's the map for Saturday. As you can see, that it changed drastically from Friday to Saturday, right? All this red here, there's some orange going on. We're in this kind of area here, and now we're looking at yesterday, if you realize or not, we had low risk wildfire, right? Low risk. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but we're talking wildfire in Charlotte. Like, you had low risk of wildfire. Let's go see what today's gonna look like Sunday. As you can see, the western part is exploding in risk potential, right? Don't walk too fast out there with your cowboy boots on. You might spark a blaze with the spurs, right? As you can see now, North Carolina and stuff is more yellow, right? So even more of a low risk, which is really like a high risk, I guess, for us, because anyway, you get what I'm saying. You don't think wildfires when you think over here. So little to no risk is still a risk. So most of the coast is green, including Florida. All right. Now just think about this though. I mean, did you think about this when you thought about fires last week? Did you think you woke up in the middle of a fire zone, that you were at risk? So here you see some things changing. Expected for Monday, expected to calm down over there, whatever they had going on. Tuesday, you got a little bit of risk in scattered places. It's literally like a weather map, right? So I want to watch this over time and see how accurately this stuff reports. Like, the weatherman gets it wrong sometimes. Like, they say it's gonna snow, storm, rain, and then it don't sometimes. But sometimes it'd be right. I don't know their percentage of accuracy, but they But anyway, let's see how accurate this is. I want to watch this over time and just pay attention to it a little more. Then you can see it now. All of a sudden, it's going to be like in that Seattle, that western coast area. I don't know if we're going to have a volcano eruption or something, but all of a sudden now they're in trouble with fire. Then we have a peaceful day on Thursday. like I mean, like, who's doing these weather report? Who's doing the fire reports on what news network? That's what we needed. I want to see them and their swagger on the green screen talking about, and then the West Coast today, we're gonna, you know what I mean? Like, hit me with that shit real quick. So, as you can see, a lot of this area over here on the east of the Mississippi, Thursday is going to be covered with little risk, which was, not no risk all of a sudden, right? So, and low risk. So pay attention on the east side Thursday. We got some missing data or some no data for Friday. They haven't figured it out yet. And then the rest of the east of Mississippi is all green. They're gonna have a little bit of risk. And then quiet on the western front. And I guess it takes a little while for the data to come in advance. So they haven't really figured it out yet, other than the Northwest should be cool. So that's a pretty cool little map. I think I didn't know that stuff existed. So shout out to whoever puts that stuff together for us. Now let's switch over to this. What I want to do. Now here, we're talking about how it affects a certain group of people, living areas, right? All right, so I did the preset. Not that I'm an expert at this site yet or anything, but what I was able to do was figure out that I could do this and show you this. And let's take a look at what this actually is, right? So this is like a mapping inequality site, right? And redlining in the New Deal of America. So what I found is if I type in fire coverage, some things pop up, and they're really cool things because they have remarks with them, and it's really amazing. So as you can see here, there is hold on. Yeah, all right, it's on the screen for you. Okay, so all right, it gives you this information here, right? And matches by grade is the percentages reflect the number of matching area descriptions among all the descriptions of the same grade. Okay, whatever that means, I'm not even gonna pretend to know. But what was cool is if I put in fire coverage, because I was looking for maps that showed this alignment of where people are and where the fire people couldn't get to protect them to. And I didn't find the perfect map, but I found this along the way. So I found it pretty cool and I want to share it with you. So if we put in the best, right, which was 14, it's 2% or whatever that is. I don't know what the percentages are because none of that math adds up, but whatever it is 14, right? So it gives you here clarifying remark, and this one of 836, whichever one that one is. I'm sure if we clicked on the map and got some more detail, blah blah blah. But the D restricted, it gives full coverage, and it's talking about coverage there. But here's the fire. So the area suffered considerably from a recent forest fire and was demanded of many trees, improvements, maintenance, and architectural design of a high character. Okay, right? So that's good stuff. It's not bad stuff, but it's telling you what the good stuff is, like good fire and police protection, blah, blah, blah. Now, if we click off of the best, you can see that's still desirable. It goes from 14 to 31. And then definitely declining is 44, right? Like this one happened to be here is yellow. So that's 44. Whatever C64 is, which we could look, it's Bergen County, New Jersey. But clarifying remarks is motorized and paid police and fire departments. Many boroughs have volunteer fire departments. So I guess they want to make them paid, right? But now let's look at hazardous, right? So Detroit, Michigan, unreliable class of tenants, slum area, fire hazards, vandalism, right? Now, when you think about this, look at this map here. Here's plots of the hazardous areas, right? And where do you live? Okay, but let's look at this, right? Because we click on this, what it does is it pulls up this, and this is when I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna have a field day. Okay. Okay. Not going to sleep for like 2 more days straight. I've been up already for about 2.5 with very little sleep. So I did crash a little bit today. So anyway, um, let's take a look at this, right? So here is this area here, I presume. Okay. And what the full description over here is, the area description says description characteristics of area: high foreclosures, unreliable class of tenants, slum area, fire hazards, vandalism. So think about it. If they have high foreclosures and they don't resell because they're having difficulty selling in the area, that leaves it empty. And if it's empty, then that makes it more vulnerable to fires or less. If you have a bunch of empty homes on a block, does that make that block more fire flammable or less? Right? I'm asking you the question just for you to answer. So foreign families was 88%, nationalities was Polish, concentration with mixture in Southern Europeans. What they call that's interesting. What they call Negro is 10%, and class and occupation labor $600 to $1,500. So I guess it means it's the working class, and I don't know if the $600 to $1,500 is a week, a month, a day, what. But I guess it's how much they generally make in that area, right? So high foreclosure rates is probably what's leading to this particular area's flammability problems, right? And when there's nobody there, does that mean that the fire department really wants to rush in there to put the fire out? Not that that should be the issue, but is that the case? All right, so let's get back. Let's try another one. Let's look at Macon, Georgia. It says no police or fire protection, no zoning or restrictions, and distance from schools, churches, the center of city is detrimental influences. Clarifying remarks are tenants are unusually destructive, causing considerable damage to occupied properties. During Depression, fire insurance companies were reluctant to write new business in this section and were reluctant to write new business in the section and were inclined to withdraw from the area. Well, let's look at Macon, Georgia. All right, so that's this area here. If you live in this area, let's talk about this, right? What's going on? So the way they see it is lots are 50 by 150. They said they may be as purchased for as little, little as $15. Tenants are usually destructive, causing considerable damage to occupied properties. And what we just went over, blah, 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 blah. So the insurance companies don't want to pay out when something happens there. And then they are just trying to leave the area completely and leave you guys with no insurance coverage at all. Foreign born says that they're none. It's apparently 100% what they have to classify there as Negro. We're going to say African American or Black, or whatever you want to call them. Americans is what I would refer to them as. Relief families, many, and it's decreasing. Types is laborers and domestics, and they're looking at estimated. Okay, so that's estimated annual family income of $200 to $600. Favorable influence is that there's no city tax and recreational space. And vandalism's bad. Difficulty of collections, no utilities except along Columbus Road and Panono Avenue. Surface toilets with no scavenger service. Very poor construction and repair condition of majority of properties, along with heavy soil erosion. No description of terrain known as Unionville is land ranges from hilly to sloping. So is it, I mean, is it coincidence that this is a unprotected fire zone? So let's look at one more. Let's see one more from somewhere else. And then I got one more map to show. We can get up out of here for today. Let's look at Augusta, because I'm talking to some people in Augusta. So the detrimental right off the top is, and it's not to say that the whole city, I'm sure it's this little area. But matter of fact, let's just go to the area. All right, so it's this area up here in North, I guess that might be North Central or Northwestern. Depends on how the map is aligned. I don't know. But it's this red area here, right? Excuse me. Looks like it's 100% what you would call African American, what may be referred to as African American, either truthfully or negligently. And relief families are few and decreasing, and they're laborers with an estimated annual income of $450 to $600. So we can zoom in. Okay. So there it is there. And favorable influences, low taxation, and scenic features. The detrimental influences are lack of zoning or restrictions, which is what I was saying in some cases, is how do they put these things in the wrong places? Like, if you know it's a tinderbox, like, don't tell people to go live there. Don't zone it for people, like, you know. With the distance from playgrounds, parks, and community business centers, it says D8, considerable distance from bus line, and which runs along Georgia Avenue. Some of this, I guess I'm gonna say some, because I can't imagine that the whole, there's a few roads there, so I can't imagine that all of them don't have paved streets. But inadequate fire protection, septic tanks, no schools, and the age and repair condition of properties. Land is rolling. So this is a pretty cool map. I'm gonna spend some more time exploring this and seeing what data it has, and this is pretty great. All right, so let me get to the last map for y'all, and we can go from there. Let's see here. Because this one's pretty cool too. And what this is called the Southern Area Coordination Center, right? And it might just be because I clicked on the southern area, because when you go out, let me see. So you can go out. It's got all the areas. Hold on. Go to national. What that's going to do? See, so it's got all of them here, right? And we click on the southern area, it takes us here. So this is our southern area. Here's your little incidences going on right now. Like, when you were watching this 5 minutes ago, did we realize that there was so many activities relative to what they're going to call why did I do that? A wildfire type situation. Okay, it was kind of like this, right? Where's the map to this at? Like, what's the yellow? What's the orange? Let's go back to incidences. So, but yeah, here you go. Like, here's Florida on fire. Here's something going on over here. The whole east side of Dallas is burning up. Oklahoma spilling over, and Arkansas, Louisiana, New Orleans ablaze. Mississippi's burning. Alabama got a bigger fire here. There's some yellow all across Tennessee. Um, Virginia's not safe. It's even got a purple box, whatever that is. There's a purple box. So you can see there's a lot of activity going on like right now. When you're sitting there comfortably at peace and you're probably in your home or wherever you're at, you don't realize that this is all the action going on around you. So if you're in Dallas, like look at this. So look at this, for example. Like a couple blazes over here, and like Dallas will be completely surrounded by fire. And I know you're like, oh, they're just little dots, but those little dots could easily become big dots. And maybe those big dots could become these little things over here, which looks like a big fire compared to the yellow dot. I don't know if that's what it means or not. We'll figure it out. I'll know by the next time I share this map with you. But, and what the hell does this mean over here, this whole red area? But anyway, let's say this area gets surrounded. Now all of a sudden they lose control because there's so many little fires going on. And now what if this whole area starts burning uncontrollably? And it's going to come and circle Dallas and Fort Worth. This is what we're dealing with in these potentials. So you didn't move to Dallas thinking you were going to be consumed by fire, or that the world around you would become hell, right? You just thought you were going to Dallas. So what happens when the flames come, surround Dallas and Fort Worth? And I'm not hoping that this happens. I'm just saying, since we got a semicircle around it, we're recognizing the potential for a couple more spots over here, and then loss of control, and now the area is surrounded. The city has concrete, yes. The city has some trees and parks, yes. But it still don't need to be under siege by fire. It's not going to be a good day. You know what I mean? Even if the whole thing doesn't melt or burn down, right? So you're looking at the danger is not only present for, oh, that only affects the people that live out in the woods, right? No, it affects everybody to some degree, and it could affect you a lot sooner than you think. All right. So that's that one. All right. I think that's pretty cool. And then it gave the drought meter, which was something, the drought monitor, which is something else, was interesting because, you know, look at North Carolina, most of it is under moderate drought. I didn't know if we know that or not. And the rest of it's abnormally dry or in a severe drought. So look at your state, look at where you're living at, and finally California is doing good, right? And see what the real situation is right now. So this is the let's see what it's called. It's called the GACC, the National Website Portal, and it's the Geographic Area Coordination Centers. You can get it at gacc.nifc.gov. Okay, so that's what I have for you today, y'all. Like I said, so I need some people here to really take this serious and see the value. Let's talk about collaboration and spreading the message. Let's talk about getting some awareness to this. And, you know, we're going to have to go, like I said, I'm going to have to talk to these people. I'm going to do it with or without you guys. But so Advanced Project, here I come. Office of Minority Health, here I come. Center for Disease Control, here I come. Get your information straight up front, because I'm coming for you, right? Fund for Black Journalism. Let's talk, man. And you guys are an organization started by a group of what you call Black publishers to address the urgent need for local reporting by and for what you call Black communities. I'm American, and I'm presenting America. So don't get that twisted. I struggle with these terms and labels that y'all have emotional attachments to, because I like to speak in terms of truth. So every time I have to say that, these words, these political subdivisions, you see me cringe a little bit, because it's America, right? Um, what law applies to you is determined by your nationality, and I don't know what these political subdivisions are, but I'm gonna say American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU. Here I come, because you guys are dedicated to the protection and expansion of civil rights. And I think if we're going to live in and or be forced to live in directly or indirectly due to economic, political, etc., etc., allocations, that there should be some sort of standardized protection, and FireFort Eco can accommodate there. We need very little startup investment compared to being able to offset over $500 billion in entitlements for the American people. I think it's very little time, effort, and energy in comparison to the protection we can provide America. And then to expand that protection to the world would actually put America in a position where it has a product that the world needs and demands, as we Americans climb back to the ranks of delivering quality to the world. So U.S. Climate Action Network, we need to talk. Earth Justice, we need to talk. Right? I know you're a professional group of lawyers and you take on important environmental cases free of charge. This ain't a case, but I want to talk to you about your network just in case. Waterkeeper Alliance, we got 100% biodegradable solution. You need to talk to us about how you can help keep America's waters clean in the fight against fire, which actually helps fight the depression, the PTSD, and the lack of productivity. Because what's ultimately being missed here is that if 50%, hold on, let me give you the numbers again. If 50%, if communities that are predominantly what you call Black, Hispanic, and Native American experience 50% greater vulnerability to wildfires compared to other communities, now substitute that about the wildfires and replace that with the depression that follows, the post-traumatic stress disorder, the decrease in productivity and success as a byproduct. And now you can see the value exponentially increases, because not only are we protecting against the fire, we're protecting against the mental health, we're protecting against the businesses being able to continue being businesses, we're continuing to protect the supply chains, we're continuing to make sure that America can produce America. Clean Water Action, the same reason we'll be talking to you. Climate Reality Project, let's talk. 350.org. Get on my calendar, or let me know if you know someone who's in these organizations. Let's make the connection. Earth Day Network, we need to talk. I know you're in 192 countries and you mobilize environmental movement through education, public policy, civic engagement, and activism. I need your support. Sierra Club, you need to get on board, please. Environmental Defense Fund, let's talk. See, I'm not really a talker, I'm a doer. So as you can see, we're gonna do this. All right. And I need your support, FireFort Eco, because the ideal situation would be for every home to have access to this, regardless of where you think you live in or not, a fire plane, Um, as you can see about Dallas being surrounded, nobody signed up for that. And they may be small fires, yes, but we know they could grow. Look at Nevada, look at New Mexico. Excuse me, look at New Mexico, not Nevada, and look at California, right? So just like that, a small fire can quickly become a big problem. And if they had that many surrounding them, they got that many opportunities to basically have Dallas trapped right now. And if that was the case, like I don't know, are the normal flight traffic ain't gonna fly into Dallas Fort Worth, right? You're gonna need like the military, and they're not gonna be flying in business class. So if Dallas gets surrounded by fires, how does that affect the rest of the nation? It's not a game. So if you wonder why I'm taking it so serious, it's because I take everything serious, because most of the stuff I talk about, um, the average people don't really understand until 7 to 10 years later. So I'm glad that this one has the attention that it has already. And let's just continue to grow the awareness. Again, I want to say thank you to, ironically, the U.S. Department of State. But this is the way it is when you realize you're American. Like we the people, the government. You guys are here to provide services, and Pasha Pabro is click. He got a song called "Click the Order," right? Check it out. You can put in Google Pasha Pabro, click the order, and right now I'm clicking the order funding for FireFort Eco so that we can curve $657 billion of entitlement and protect 80 million plus homes that are in the fire zone, and countless more that are still under threat by fire, whether they realize it or not, as well as the quality of life for every American. I want to protect them from additional unnecessary post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and protect the economy from a slump and the little micro slumps that all add up to big slumps of loss of productivity that follow these fires. So think about that map that we showed, all the little dots. Every people that live around there are going to be experiencing some level of post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and when and if they go back to work, they're going to be less productive. We saw a lot of dots around Dallas. We saw a lot of dots and blazes across southern and eastern America. In that one example, I'm sure if we took the time to look at the whole nation, we would see a lot more dots. It's bigger than what you think when you look at those dots. As now, even if they survive, I'm not saying they're all supposed to like go up in flames to people, but what I'm saying is when those people survive, they're still going to have some level of post-traumatic stress disorder. They're still going to have the trauma of the experience. They're still going to have the depression that follows. They're still going to have the insomnia. They're still going to go to the work and become less productive, which makes that plant, that job, that law office less productive, less sustainable for the community. So the whole community suffers, even if it rebuilds itself. And you saw a lot of dots. So yes, thank you, U.S. Department of State. Thank you, World Resource Institute. Thank you, California Wellness Foundation. Thank you, Quantum Renewable Energy, Inc. And yes, F all the people around me that ain't shared this shit and it's been out 4 days and you think Pasha. You out there running around saying Pasha. You don't know Pasha. You know of Pasha. Because if you knew Pasha for real, you'd be sharing this right here. Not this too, but the white paper. Because you'd have called me up if you didn't understand and asked me, why am I doing this? Because I don't do nothing accidentally. So the purpose of this is we're bringing America protection in lots of different ways: fire, quality of life, and productivity for the economy. I don't really see another opportunity for any philanthropists to put their venture capital in for a better cause. If it was up to me, all grant funding would stop. No, let me stop and be shifted and directed, redirected, redistributed to get this going. Nah, but seriously though, it's important. It's important. Okay. So if you didn't know, now you know. Pasha Paro, thank you for tuning. Let me give you a closeout. Boom, 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 boom. And here we go. All right, y'all. Pasha Pyro, thank you for tuning in. Enjoy.